Greetings everyone, I'm Scott Rodell here at the Great River Taoist Center, which is also home to our Academy of Chinese Swordsmanship. You're probably wondering what sort of sword I have over my shoulder here. Well, actually, this is a Chinese carrying pole, or in Mandarin, a biandan. These were carried and used by pretty much everybody in Chinese society. If they were farmers taking their tools or their produce in or out from the fields, they would have used one of these. Merchants going to the market would have used this to carry their goods, or tradesmen who was going to town to sharpen knives or maybe do haircuts, they would carry their tools and some stools to sit on from these kind of carrying poles. People carried literally everything in these. Even children got toted about on these carrying poles. And porters also used these when they were transporting the luggage of either rich merchants, wealthy businessmen, or officials, higher officials as they were traveling from one town to the next. This example's pretty nice. It has these iron fittings on each end, which is, a little knob to make sure whatever you're carrying doesn't slip off. And it has a very thick, nice coating of a dark brown lacquer. So that leads me to think this wasn't the carrying pole of just some farmer who was schlepping his fruits and vegetables off to market. This was probably one used by a porter for a well-to-do man. This example, though, has a hidden, deadly little secret. It hides a nice, heavy Duanjian. This is not an average little dagger. This is really a short sword. At 380 grams, that's 1 pound and 8 ounces, it's a really solid blade. It can deliver a really, really authoritative cut that would do real damage to anybody who it connected with. It has a 51 centimeter blade, so that's 20 inches. So it's got good reach. This is genuinely a short sword and not just a big dagger. It has a good solid feel to it. Here at the base, it's easily a little over 1/4 inch. So it's a good solid piece, and it has a very, very slight distal taper down toward the tip here. So without question, I can feel like if somebody came at me with a full length, full weight sword, that yes, I could easily deflect well enough and I could deliver a good solid countercut. If I were in a close quarter situation, absolutely, with some good footwork, I have a good chance of landing a counter blow. So this is most definitely a short sword. Kind of question, of course, comes up is like, who in the world is carrying around a short sword in a carrying pole? I mean, why? And that's, of course, the interesting question when it comes to weapons like this. If this were a Hong Kong action movie, you'd have to say, oh, that's an assassin's weapon. And perhaps it is. Perhaps it was put together for an assassin. I tend to think there's easier ways to assassinate somebody. I mean, you can hit them from distance with a bow or a firearm or poison them. So, yes, it's possible. You could incognito, carrying pole, come by, drop off your goods, boom, quick stab into somebody, hide it again, and run for it. So it's possible. Yeah, maybe it was an assassin's weapon. Perhaps, all of these tradesmen always had some sort of guild. So maybe this was from the Porters Guild. Perhaps the headman in whatever area needed occasionally to exert his authority, needed a good solid weapon on him to do that. So perhaps it's that headsman's weapon. And also, in that case, he probably wasn't legally allowed to carry something like a short sword. And so having it hidden in a carry pole, that could be a quite good thing for him. Maybe it's somebody who has some really valuable fruits and, if he tried to steal them, he had his weapon there, but I think that's probably not the case. I think what's most likely is that this was the weapon or the extra weapon, hidden weapon for one of the porters in the bodyguard agencies, or somebody who would have been traveling with a rich merchant, rich businessman who was going between towns, or even perhaps the troops, the bodyguards accompanying a Qing official, and they wanted to have one extra hidden weapon just in case. I mean, imagine you're between towns, you're traveling from one place to the next, further you get out from the capital, there's most definitely bandits, rebels, just regular old poor farmers who see an opportunity to make a score, to steal the goods from somebody passing by, or to, get a little extra toll on the road to help out the local village. And of course, they attacked travelers, especially during the Taiping Rebellion, times of rebellions when things weren't as settled, it was a little easier for people to resort to banditry. Well, in that case, if you're a bodyguard and you get set upon, perhaps if you lose or you're surprised and they take your weapons away, you have one more weapon hidden amongst the carry poles that if there's an opportunity, you can draw it and fight your way out. So I tend to think it's probably associated with the porters that were part of those bodyguard agencies. But the truth is, when it comes to something like this, we never really know for sure. Perhaps it's all three of these are a possibility. But this is the only example I've ever seen of this sort of hidden weapon, hidden in a carrying pole. And I always find these kinds of things really very interesting because you don't know exactly what it was used for or who carried it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed talking about it. I really, really love these kind of weapons. They have a little bit of a mystery to them. If you would, please do like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate that. And until next time, thanks and 再见!